serious relationship at the time. Dare I say, in love too. And my girlfriend at the time was also experiencing this, confusion of whether she wanted to be a doctor like her dad, or start her own art gallery and pursue art. And I was looking through sort of my fear goggles, and anything you love to do is going to be really hard, so you should be a doctor, and sort of discouraging her. And that was just one of the many problems in the relationship. Wasn't very supportive. But anyway, so towards the end of the year, reached a breaking point where, as the summer approached, we broke up. And I don't know if you guys remember your first relationship or the first time you were in love and heartbroken, but it's hard. And at that point, I sank into this almost like bottomless abyss, because everything I had that was making me happy was suddenly stripped when she left. And at the same time, I still haven't figured out what I wanted to do. So it's like, I didn't know even where to go from that point. And summer was approaching, and I was like, well, I have a choice. I can go back home and I can live with my parents, meet up with all my high school friends, probably just tell stories about how ridiculous freshman year was. But I was like, I'm in like a crisis right now. I don't want to just run from it all and, just avoid it. And so what I decided to do was to get an apartment in Lincoln Park. And I got a job, was working full-time just to pretty much support myself and try to figure this thing out. I devoted that summer to just pretty much 3 months of soul searching. And any time that I wasn't working, I was just in my apartment. I was living alone just because I didn't want any kind of influence discouraging me or anything. I just wanted to really turn inwards. And there was a moment where I came home from work. It was probably like 9:30 at night, and I was living on the third floor of an apartment in Lincoln Park, old apartment. It was sweating. I literally just plopped down on the couch after standing on my feet all day, exhausted. And I just remember having a moment where I'm like, there's got to be more to life. There's got to be something more here than just trading time for a paycheck. I wanted to feel like my life mattered, and like I was actually making a difference. Fortunately, I wasn't. I was selling cameras at Wolf Camera. I really didn't know where to go from that, but I had an inkling of a clue of what it is that I really want to be doing. So I started reading books, started journaling, started really searching pretty seriously. And there was a moment where, I don't remember if it was a book or online, but I stumbled across a quote by Nietzsche. It said, he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. And at that moment, what I realized is that any path is going to be hard. And to try to avoid challenge or hardship, and to convince myself that only doing what I love is going to be hard. But if I go down law or psychology or whatever, that's not hard. It's still a lot of work, college, got to pass tests, all that. So, and then I used that quote, I took it one step further of trying to build up the why, of why I really need to get this handled now to create a sense of urgency. And one of the things I did was sort of did an hourly breakdown of a typical day in the life. So I'm just going to run over this really quickly. So there's 24 hours in a day. Ideally, you want to get 8 hours of sleep so you can be well rested. Leaves you with 16 waking hours. And then subtracted the unavoidable routine stuff. 3 hours for food, 3 times a day, preparing, cooking, if you're eating out, waiting, traveling. 1 hour for bathroom use. I was being really conservative here, because women, it doesn't work like that. And then, so that left you with about 12 hours after all the unavoidable routine stuff. Then subtract 8 hours for work from 9 to 5. And then 2 hours for travel. 1 hour to commute there, 1 hour to commute back with traffic or the train, whatever. So that leaves you with 2 free hours a day, assuming that you're only there from 9 to 5, that you don't have to stay later. There's not some big deadline that you have to stay till 8 or 9 to do. So at that point, I was like, okay, well, 10 out of 12 free hours of every single day of my life is going to be spent at this job. And my mom's an accountant, so I'm a little bit number inclined, so I broke it down. That means that 83% of your day for the rest of your life is going to be spent at this job. And I don't care what you're doing, but that is enough to make or break your entire life. You can't, you just can't be, it's serious. That's what I'm trying to convey here. You can't have a passionate relationship if you're cut off from your own passion at work all day. It's not like a switch you flip on. It affects every single part of your life. And this was something that really, something that really affected me. And at that point, that's when my search sort of intensified. You know, I started reading more, I started journaling literally every single day, sometimes for hours. And there was a point where I literally pictured myself on my deathbed, laying there and reflecting on my life. You know, I was thinking, like, what's the purpose of it all? Like, why am I even alive? What am I doing here? And that's a pretty odd thing to contemplate at age, I was 19 at the time. But from that point, it was just, as I was reflecting, I realized that I wanted to feel like my life mattered. You know, when I'm laying there on my deathbed, I wanted to reflect on a life well lived, that I contributed to someone, that I made some sort of a difference.